Welcome to Empowered Living. I'm Ann Shu. On this podcast, innovative leaders and visionary experts share insights and practical tools for work, family, and marriage. Each episode, we'll explore how to elevate your life while staying grounded in what truly matters to you. You're working hard to navigate relationships, build a thriving family, and create a legacy of purpose. We're here to help you do that with confidence and intentionality. So if you're ready to live a life by design, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Empowered Living, the podcast where we explore what it means to lead with clarity, courage, and connection. I'm your host, Ann Shu, and today's episode is a special one. With us today are my good friends, Corey and Steve Neuner. They're entrepreneurs, life partners, parents, two people who are building both business and family on purpose. Their story is one of deep alignment, honest communication, and intentional growth, both at home and at work. In this episode, we talk about the secret to building healthy, strong relationships. And we also cover what it takes to raise kids who are generous, grounded, and entrepreneurial. This conversation is full of truth, laughter, and so many takeaways for couples, parents, and business owners alike. Let's dive in. Corey and Steve, welcome to our show today. I am so excited to have you guys here.
Thank you for having us, Ann. We're excited too.
Thanks for having us. We're super excited. Pumped to be with you.
Yes.
Oh gosh, I can't wait for this conversation. Okay, so let's dive in. I know you guys have worked in a business together. You're working in a new business together now. You guys are life partners, you're parents together. What has surprised you guys the most about working with your spouse?
Surprised. I think in the beginning, what surprised me was just how challenging it was for us because we're so in sync all the time. And when we started working together, we didn't find that gear for a while. And so it was just a process of talking through things and making sure that we could get on the same page and not bringing work home with us all the time. That was probably the most challenging part. But what surprised you?
I was going to say how amazing she was and how smart. And I would say that we've all been a strategic coach. And for me, it was a really big game because, I knew Corey was amazing. I could not have hired her in the business. Like, there's no way, like couldn't afford her. I mean, she was just too good. But day one, she came in and just made such a difference in the business. However, I had been kind of doing everything with her helping after she was teaching nights and weekends and stuff. And so not weekends teaching, sorry. But anyway, we get in this situation and she's diving in and I'm like just throwing her in the deep end. And
that was a surprise.
And so there was a surprise there. And then there was the surprise of just thanks to Coach, understanding each other's unique ability was really, really helpful in that because while we are very much in sync and very much aligned, we think differently, we go about making decisions differently. And depending on what our focus was and what our role was in the business, sometimes that we'd step on each other. And so I think understanding each other's unique ability and being able to appreciate it and let each other own each other's side of the line, so to speak, and each other's role, I think was really a big breakthrough in our working together.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for the listener that's listening that might not be familiar with unique ability, can you share a little bit about what it is, how you guys discovered your unique ability, and then how you used it to stay in your lane?
Well, I think we'll speak about it differently. So for me, unique ability is just what God has uniquely blessed us to be able to naturally be equipped for and to do just seamlessly and not knowing your work from your play when you're in that zone. And so it took a while to figure that out and just have the ability to do it, right? Because when you're starting a business and it's just the two of us, we're having to do all things and things that are outside of our unique ability. One, until we could afford to outsource or hire other people to be able to do those things. But once we got into the zone where we could both get to work and play in our unique ability, that's where the fun happens, right? That's the sweet spot of, you're just in the lone zone of, every day is a great day because I know that I'm getting to go and do things that I excel at and I'm not exhausted at the end of the day when I get to stay in my unique ability. Whereas early in the business, I was playing outside of that for so long that I was exhausted and depleted and ready to leave the business like every day pretty much, but you can speak to it from more like the
No,
strategic coach side.
I think you've done a great job. I think the words they'll resonate. The one thing that I think about that I would just add to that is when you have like truly, you start to understand unique abilities, it's no longer a delegation down when you're passing a baton off of something that's important to be done and you hand it to someone with a unique ability, it's literally, it elevates, right? And so we were both super capable people. There were areas where it was not because we're bad people or we didn't care, but it would be just a delegation down. You don't want me planning the details of certain things, right? I mean, I just had lunch with a friend of mine and I circumnavigated my assistant. We did it through text and it was a last minute. It's like, hey, let's go to lunch. I'll meet you at Jimmy John's. And he showed up really, really late. And I was like, what's going on? And he's like, hey, can you read the sign to me? And I read it. And he's like, what's it say? And I was like, Jersey Mike's. And I was like, yeah. So, I mean, it's not that I'd like, but I'd be fired to be someone's executive assistant tomorrow. And so when you get the right person in the right seat with that unique ability, it's like, it's not a delegation down. It's literally, moving up.
So as you guys have navigated working together, how have you made sure that the line between being business partners and husband and wife has a clear delineation? Meaning, how have you made sure to create space to have moments where you are just husband and wife and not business partners?
Yes,
question.
this is very, very key and crucial, right? To remember that we are partners, not competitors with each other in the business, and to make sure that we can still like each other. We always love each other, right? But we want to be able to like each other at the end of, a work day or a work week. We have kept date nights alive and well. We do those, every week we have a standing date night on Mondays, and we do not talk about work during it. So we have same page meetings during the week. We actually try to do our same page meeting on our date day. That way we've really gotten it all out and there's not things that have built up in between that we feel like the need to talk about. So that way when we go on our date night, it's just truly every topic is, available except for work stuff. And we also have to be really careful because we found, years ago that you could be talking about something really good and positive in the business. But then what happens when you do that is you're just very easily 2-3 steps away from going into something that is more stressful about the business. So we even tried to just stay away from those topics because, just one thought leads into another. And then before you know it, you're having a business meeting, at your date.
Yeah. And it was super tricky back then because it was insurance. And so literally you could see a Toyota Corolla on the road and it would all roads lead to like some sort of insurance thing. So we got that one really, that business really, really helped us develop that skill. And it was something we had to work on and we'd call each other out and in a loving way and kind of tap on the shoulder and we'd bring it back. And I feel like we're much better now than we were. It was a muscle to build. The other things for me that I would just add is I think couple things. One, the business, as much as we love them and it's part of our work and it's part of our play and part of our, we see it as over our overall ministry, just things that we're up to in the world. Corey is a much higher priority to me than the business. And so when it comes to, things of the business, I mean, like when I'm thinking about my day and I'm prioritizing what's important to me and everything else, I'm thinking about Corey before I think about business. And I want to make sure that I create space for that. And I try to do that daily. And that's really, really helpful. And that expresses itself in a number of ways. One of the ways that it expresses that also I think ties in, this helps is we try to take free days together. So we try to take, like full days all the way, no work and play together. And the joke is, I always say I want to give Corey the world and my kids the 50 nifty United States. And so, but it's like, we're always trying to plan, longer trips away without the kids. And I have a lot of friends that think that's crazy. They're like, well, you're missing opportunity to take your kids to France, blah, 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 or whatever. And I'm like, the number one thing I feel like we can give each other and quite honestly, our kids is a really great marriage. And so for me, it's an investment. And I think that all of those things remind us that the work, is important, but it'll come and go. This is what's going to, go for the long haul.
Yeah. And a lot of times they will, like, whether it's in prayer or just conversations, they're always so grateful that we take time away with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, we're just so glad and that you guys take date nights and y'all go every week. And so like they're seeing it, right? Goes back to the more is caught than taught. I'm like, wow, I just didn't even know that they thought that way, or they're seeing that and they're appreciating it, which feels good.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it is hard to live them for a long
And,
period of
and,
time.
and it creates a broader perspective of Corey, right? And hopefully of me, right? It's like, man, maybe in this moment, one of us is frustrated with each other about something work related, but it's like we have a much broader context for the person and like who they are and, versus I know when we had the insurance business and it grew and grew and grew, we got to where we didn't quite know, early days, we literally would have people over and have holiday meals with us that were on our team. And we grew and grew and grew. And there were people, it's like I went from knowing all their kids, and it's like I knew them, but I didn't know as much about them. And so it was really, really hard. I had to fight to not see them as a job performance or something that they were getting done, to see them as complete people. And I think the same's true if you're working with your spouse, is that you've got to have a broader perspective of them than just what they do for the business or do for you in that context.
Well, and I see it very similarly to like, when you're going to launch your kids and you're going to be empty nesters and it's going to be back to like, wow, do we know each other? Do we like each other
Yeah.
still? Do we want to hang out? And it goes the same for the business, right? If the business were to fall apart or be obsolete overnight, we're going to be good. This is what we need. And we'll start over again, and we would want to do it with each other. And if not, then we know something's really wrong and we've got to
Our priorities have gotten out of
get
order.
back under, well, for us, it's
So-
God's authority.
Speaking of this idea of more is caught than taught, what are you guys hoping that the kids are learning from you guys as they watch you build Barnhill?
Gosh, I hope that they see that we want to love on people first, whether it's our team, the guests that are coming here, that we're preparing for that first, and then everything flows from that. How do we create an amazing experience for other people, right? It's not just this business and dollars and cents. And because a lot of times we do things that don't make sense financially, but it's because of a greater desire to create something that is special and meaningful. And we think that our kids feel and see the heart behind that and what we're getting to do here. And especially with this business, like this business is like nothing we've ever done before. When we were in insurance, I always wanted to say, like, can we give them a snow cone with their insurance policy? Because I really want to have something that they want from us, not something that they have to have, that they're like begrudgingly accepting. And now, this business is all about entertainment and fun. And I think our kids get to see, they saw so much of the insurance for so many years, and now they're getting to see this entertainment side and how we get to interact with our clients and love on them. And I think that that is what I want them to take away, is no matter what you're doing, thinking about how you want to be for this person, how you want to show up and shine light. And that can carry across really any type of business or work that you do.
I mean, I think all that's, I shouldn't add more. I have a couple of things that came, but no, it was just came to mind, which is just honestly too, I think it's really important. I think a lot of opportunities are taken away from kids nowadays as we kind of bubble wrap them and all, that to really, really learn work ethic, serving people. I think of as my first job as a kid, one of my first jobs was just taking groceries out and bagging them at the grocery store and taking them out. And just like, it felt good. I didn't get tipped to take that little old lady's like groceries to the car in the Texas heat. Right. And it's just, I think there's something about that that's like, you can't learn in school. So I'm hoping as much as they learn from us, that they just develop a love for just loving on people and serving like all kinds of people, regardless of age or anything else. And I think that, I think this is a really cool environment to be able to do that. I also hope that here they appreciate, because it is kind of special, that the environment that it's in is that I hope they develop a love for just the simple things like nature. Like it's literally, there are 100 other places that they can go see concerts or do different things, but there's something that people can, but they come here because I think the things that Corey said, people feel loved, they feel served, they feel supported, but also just the beauty of being outside and enjoying, God's creation, I think is just something that I hope that they take away, is just an appreciation in life that you don't need. It's people are trying to escape the concrete jungle. They're trying to come out here and like break away for real connection in the relationships versus like, that we're sold constantly that we need more and more and more and, climb higher. And so anyway, I hope that they leave with just an appreciation for how simple it is.
So, as you guys are navigating parenting and this idea of like more, 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 what have you done to help ground your kids in working towards what is important and purposeful and not towards the more, 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 more?
Yes. Um, Gosh, I would say a few things. Going back just to the simplest analogy is our kids, they get 3 gifts for Christmas. They always have. For us, Jesus got 3 gifts at his birth, and that's what our kids get too. And
You ain't more special than Jesus.
and they don't even have to be elaborate, although we do try to lean towards like one of them being like a bigger gift, but sometimes it can just be something that you really need, like if it's a new sweatshirt or a blanket or something, but that is it and that is enough, and they're satisfied with it. They don't expect more than that. I really think putting them to work really early is so key because it feels good to work to get the things that you want versus when they're just given to you, right? They appreciate and take care of the stuff that took time and effort for them to get versus something that was just handed to them, and they feel so good about themselves when they get that. And so being here, while I know that this is not a usual circumstance for most people, they've all started working at a very young age. They they feel empowered themselves. Wow, I mean, I don't even have any friends that started working when they were 14 or 11 or whatever age that they started at. And it it feels good. So I think that they're on the right track of knowing what it feels like to work and to make money and to buy for themselves.
And then I would also just say, like, give. And so we have a lot of family that love our kids. And, especially when they're younger, there was just like an overabundance, almost, sadly, almost felt like a competition of like who could give the most stuff to the kids. So, to be the number one, whatever, grandparent, whatever on the holidays. And, we implemented like a 10 toy rule, which is where we basically would let them play with everything, enjoy it. But ultimately, after 2 weeks, they had to really, really kind of narrow it down. And what we did, um, while that would be like enough, and some people are like, oh man, that's rough. But it's like, it was really, really awesome because oftentimes it wasn't the new stuff. There was certain tried and true that always made the cut. They always wanted to keep that as part of their 10 toys. So it was really special when they brought something new in and then what was also really cool is just early days, we would have them, we'd bag it up and we give it to friends and we tell friends, hey, whatever your kids don't want, just donate it. But we wanted them to actually connect the giving to a person so they could actually see like, hey, and they'd go over and play at a friend's house. And they're like, that used to be my toy. And we're played with it again. And so I can't quantify it, but I can tell you, like, I really feel like it developed like a sense of, okay, like stuff's cool, but like what's stuff for? And it's like, it's really neat to be able to also give and not just get. And I think that has kept I think a healthier balance on the more, more, more drive, And then when we do, it's fun because to know that it's also fun to get more so that we can give more too.
And that is really interesting because I will tell you, there's been some times where it's been hard for me. So I'm like,
Yeah, that's
oh my
true.
gosh, I can't believe they're going to get rid of the gift that I just picked out for them, but they only had it for 2 weeks,
I'm going to sneak that now.
And it's so hard, but also very eye opening too, right? That sometimes we want to give them stuff that they don't even want, they don't even value it, right? And so
Yeah.
just letting that go and letting them give is really a gift in itself. And it's super cool for us to see and think to ourselves, like, what am I doing? What am I buying that I don't need to be, purchasing, or what can I give away to others that would probably enjoy it more than I even do with it sitting in my cabinet for so long.
So the money that they make work at Barnhill, do you guys have restrictions or guardrails or requirements around how they spend that money?
We do. We have, we were really big Dave Ramsey fans, still are, but just for a number of years, we really worked that program early on when we were newly married. And so we have kept that. We've always adopted the give, save, spend method for them. They had 3 piggy banks when they were little to make it very easy and tangible of how that got divvied up. and then, what actually went on to the bank or what went on to be tithed and then taking to the store to go and buy. And we have still kept that today. So our oldest daughter, she manages it herself now. She's got 2 bank accounts that she transfers money to keep that same divvy approach up. And she's doing really well with it. And then Everett and Chase, they're still mildly managed by us. Their accounts are and how that gets split up. But they already know, like Chase lost a tooth and he got some money from the tooth fairy and he immediately brought it over and he was like, can you please divvy this up for me? So that it would be broken down
Yeah.
into what he could actually, give and spend himself.
And it's their money, right? So like that's the one thing that sometimes they have to remember. It's like, it's like we're not taking anything from you. Like we're literally like it's yours still.
Yeah, we let them log in and look at their bank account
Yeah.
anytime that they want so they can
Yeah.
see like where they're at. What does that look like? It has their name on it on the app and they pull it up and they're like, man, okay.
Yeah.
And then they get in competition with each other. Well, Chase and Everett do.
Yeah. And then they've invested some. And so they've had the opportunity to like invest in some things alongside us. And we generally try to find things where there's something tangible. And then there's like a check that comes every month. And then, then if there's a sale of of the asset or whatever, then they make their money so they can sort of understand the investing part of it and how to, have your money make money for you. And so, it's never done. I mean, we're constantly, working at that, and it goes, I mean, we could go on for hours about it. I mean, it's like people are like, what? You don't, buy your kids Cokes? Well, we generally don't. We usually will have them buy it on their own. We're always finding little ways to try to help them just appreciate and understand value. So funny. We bought Cokes all the time. And then when we said, okay, you can have Cokes, but you got to pay for them. Not Cokes, I mean sodas. And it was funny how few sodas all of a sudden were being bought, right? When
They're
it was
like,
their
that's
money.
gonna cost me $3.
Yeah. And so, it's just constantly, hopefully training them up so that they can, have a better start. When we first got married, I had student loan debt. I had debt. I had, and Corey did not. We worked a lot on the Dave Ramsey plan to get out of debt personally. And it was so transformed our marriage. Our hope is at least to put him, to launch him with the skills and the training and the tools to have that as a choice for themselves. Obviously, they're going to decide, whether or not they go into debt. But our goal is to at least teach them the things that, we didn't learn. Whether it was taught to us or not, we didn't learn them.
We give them a lot of opportunities to make more money too,
Yep.
right? They can read a multiplier book, which means that any work that they do or money that they earn, even if it's their paycheck here, we will double that money as long as they get the book read within 2 weeks and then they present on it to the whole family.
Yeah.
And it has to be to all of us because everybody learns from whatever book that they read.
Yeah. Because they'll do, the presentation, which helps the presentation skills. They're learning things they're not going to learn in school, new mindsets. And my favorite thing about it, quite honestly, is that oftentimes when they catch a hold of it, they think they're really getting over on us, right? Like, what? You're going to double what I earned just if I read this book and tell you what it's about? I'm like, yes,
Yes.
And it's cool because now our older daughter, it's so crazy because I'll hear her quoting different things that she's learned from different books to help her friends that are like stuck in like maybe a bad mindset or something. It's just like it's like seeds that I know that were planted, 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 3, and it's like it's overflowing now and she's able to be useful to people. It's neat.
Well, even Chase the other day, he's like, oh, well, Warren Buffett says, my friend Warren, I'm like, my buddy.
And warning anyone listening. I mean, and I say warning tongue in cheek here because it's nothing more rewarding to me than when my children actually come to me and like, hey, Dad, like, and they're actually like holding me accountable, right? Like they're the ones that like, hey, why don't we eat in tonight, right? Like,
If we're not having a humbling moment from our children, then we're probably off track because, it's awesome when they reflect back to you the things that you've been pouring in and saying to them. And then they circle back and they're like, hey, and Mom, no, you always say this. And I'm like, oh, dang it. You're right. You. But having that humility too, if I can just say, too, when there are times when you're just not at your best, right? You didn't say the right thing at the right time, or you didn't say it with the right tone, then circling back with them and apologizing. That has been something for us, both of us, that I can say that we are pretty good at. I mean, sometimes it's not as quick as I'd like to be, but and it means so much to them when you go and you ask for forgiveness and set it right.
Not with a but or you
Yeah.
should, but
It's
just
just
like
like,
owning.
hey, I should have or I didn't, will you forgive me? And then, asking that question of them and them getting to give you that forgiveness is so key and crucial. And I feel like it's just put a lot of respect between us and our
Mm,
kids. And it's surprising to them, I think, to have an adult even just speak to them in that way too. And that, no, yes, you're younger, but we make mistakes too.
mhm,
And we need to ask for forgiveness.
mm.
This is a two-way street.
And the add-on, and I don't know if we're going too tangent for you here, but like the add-on to it for me is like she mentioned more caught than taught, and talking to the business. So there's so many opportunities for that to be modeled with other people too. Hey, we're sorry that didn't go well. Here's what we're gonna do. They get to see us up close and personal doing it with a guest or whatever, like just to try to do what's right and clean it up, right? And then what I think is important is like oftentimes the caught more is caught than taught can become a trap for me if I'm not careful, because I feel like if I'm not walking it out, I can't teach my kids the thing. Like I don't have the credibility or authority to tell my kids to eat vegetables when I don't eat vegetables. Well, that's not like, that's not true. That's like a fallacy. It's still good to teach my kids. It's like, and it's okay to say, hey, like this is something like dad struggles with, right? And so I think that when I my kids know that I'm not perfect and that I'm doing my best to get better every day, just like I hope they are, I think it creates opportunities to speak truth into them, even though I may be struggling with that truth myself.
With 3 kids, what do you guys do to make sure that you have individual strong connections with each kid? Because I've got 4 now, and Sunny and I are constantly talking about what a struggle it is already with trying to make sure that each kid has individualized attention and time. What are you guys doing to juggle your kids, sure that they each feel loved and special?
Yes. This is so important to us, because we love them. You love your kids so deeply. You want them to feel all of the good things. We do one-on-one dates with them. And what that looks like is they get to pick what we do, where we go, how we do it. So that way it really feels like it's for them and not just what everybody else chose to do or what we chose to do or where to go. And they love that. It just fills their bucket up. It makes them feel so good. Every day, too, we make sure that whether we've picked them up from school or now, Dylan will drive them home from school a lot of times at the table, we make sure that everybody gets to go around and we ask them their 3 wins for the day. Like, we care about your day, what happened, but we want them to be in gratitude, right? Because if you just say how'd your day go, it's easy to go to what was the negative thing that happened that day or that didn't feel so good. So we always start with 3 wins, and everybody has a voice and they get to talk about it. And then we just make sure we have full dialogue back before we go to the next, like who wants to go next. So that's one thing that we do. We take in several trips with them one-on-one. I did a purity trip with both of the girls. Steven will do one with Chase here pretty soon.
Mhm.
And those trips for the girls, they both came home feeling older, more mature, because like we took the time to do a special program, but they know that that's coming for them too. And that's like a rite of passage. And that their time with us is it's almost like, when you have like a vacation on the calendar that you're looking forward to, they have ones at like different milestones in their lives and their ages. And we make sure that we go big and treat each one as its own special, separate time. And we don't repeat the exact same things that we've done.
Yeah. And I'll do one with the girls too as well. And so, where I would also add to that, and it's kind of circles back to earlier what we said, which is, the concept of unique ability in our marriage, right? And understanding and appreciating. We have worked really hard to be intentional about not setting up our kids in competition with each other. And like we are always celebrating their uniqueness. And in our parenting, we really try to be reflective of the saying, train a child up in the way that they should go. And when they're old, they'll not depart from it. Well, there's part of that is like all of our kids have a natural bend. And so we're not trying to, you should have the same grades as Dylan, or you should study like Dylan, or you should do the thing, like, or Everett, or like put them, we don't
Never
pit them against
compare.
each other. We don't
We never
compare.
compare.
We're always celebrating their uniqueness. We're always celebrating the character behind it. That's the one thing we do want. Like hard work is hard work. It might get expressed differently in each kid, but like, are you doing your best? Those are the things we try to really focus on. And I think by doing that, not just in the one-on-one time, but by doing that corporately, like as a, as a family, it's really, really neat because I think they all feel not just special between, dad sees me, but now my siblings see me. And it's really, I mean, I tell you, Ann, we just went on an incredible trip. One of our goals is to get our kids to all 50 states before they finish school. And we went on a 4-state trip this last July. We stayed in some incredible places, but one of the final places we stayed was like this little cabin in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota. The walls didn't even go all the way up to the ceiling. It was beautiful. It was near the lake, but it was tiny, right? Well, Corey and I went to bed one night and I kid you not, like we were wiped out, tired, and you could hear everything in there. And it was such a sweet moment to hear our kids. I wanted to tell them to go to bed because I was tired, but to hear them laughing together and having so much fun together and staying up, like we just basked in it. It was just so awesome. And I think a lot of that is both sides, them being special. They know they're special to us individually, but we don't just celebrate that for a one-on-one. We're always celebrating each other as a family, period,
And going back to that whispering thing that we talked about earlier, just really early on, we wanted our kids to be best friends. It was so important to us because I feel like my sister and I, while we get along and there's nothing between us that's negative, I feel like we missed an opportunity because our parents did, whether they realized it or not, they kind of pit us against each other growing up a lot. And so it put us in a weird situation where being close was not as readily available, seemingly, to us. And so we have just always spoke that into our kids. Like, you have 2 built-in best friends here. So like when the world's falling apart and you're in and out of seasons with friends, like at school or wherever, you come home and you have 2 best friends here. And they really feel that and they can see that. And because they feel very free to be able to celebrate each other's uniqueness. There's just no competition between them. And this really is a safe space for them. And they can call each other out in a very healthy way, because they've seen that demonstrated over and over, and it's a safe space because they know this person loves them so much and is for them and is their best friend. So it's much easier. I'm not saying it's always easy. Sometimes there's still some resistance, and we'll eventually get there, but it is a lot easier to take that from someone that loves you and is for you and is not in competition with you.
Yeah. And the byproduct of that is we're in a unique opportunity where they're all at one school. And so there's a upper school, middle school and a lower school. And to hear from parents and teachers that see our kids that like, man, like, I love how your kids, they're excited to see each other when they do catch each other in the hall or, you just tell how much fun they have together. And now they're all 3 running cross country together, but 2 of them are on, the varsity team together or whatever. And it's just so fun, right? To see them. And even where there could be competition, they're really they're each other's biggest fans.
It's so sweet.
It's so sweet. It's such a blessing to see.
So aside from making sure that they're not feeling in competition with each other and that you guys are celebrating their unique gifts, what else are you doing tactically that has really helped cultivate that sibling friendship? Because I think that for so many parents, that's the dream, is your kids are best friends. And it's so hard, but I feel like of all the families that I know, you guys have really navigated that in such a beautiful way.
I'll let Corey answer that, but first I'll tell you one thing I did that I don't know that I'd recommend, but it was tremendously awesome. We had the Get Along shirt, but whenever they were real little and they would be fighting, I probably get turned into like CPS. So whoever listens to this, so our kids turned out fine, but they would were little and they would get into it with each other. And it was like over something ridiculous. And we couldn't get them to work it out. I had this really big shirt and we put both of them in at the same time. And it was literally, no matter how pissed they were, it was like 30 seconds and they're laughing. But I'd let them stew in it, stay in it for a while, past where they would laugh and then they'd be annoyed with each other. And then finally they would figure out like, hey, like we're like a unit. This is not going to work if we don't figure out how to move together. And so I don't know that that would work for a teenager, but we did that young. And she's got probably much better things that we did. But I always laugh when I reflect back on it because I think those are seeds.
And it's hilarious. They talk about it now, the get along shirt.
Yeah.
You know, and we threaten to bring it back times. Another thing is getting fully complete with one another. That was always something, even when they were really little, and they probably didn't fully grasp the meaning behind the closure of it. We would make them do it, and it would end with a squish. You have to give a big squish, which means that they would have to hug each other, and it wasn't just like a little pat. It was like they would squish each other, and even that would make them like laugh, and it would feel good, right? It's just that release that you just need to like squish it out with this person that you were just completely irritated with 15 minutes ago. And I think that just really helped them to get that physical element to it is more important than I think I can even quantify or realize. It's just something that you can just like afterwards, and it's like, okay, yeah, we actually really are good. Like we said it, but now we are. So like squishing it out, they know what that means, and we still have them do it today.
Yeah.
Not as often.
And now we don't have to as much, which is
Yeah.
really cool because again, it's just like become habit, culture, whatever, like as of our family. And I also would just call out the fact that sometimes it's Corey and I. So I think the other thing that they've seen is they've seen this modeled out between us too. It's like if we do get cross, like I've apologized. I've apologized to mom and I've apologized to them for the way that I behave, like in front of them, like that their mom deserved better or whatever. And they've seen us squish it out, right? And work out stuff because we're not certainly perfect. And so I think just creating that culture that like, hey, like we're going to work this out and it doesn't, it softens hearts, I think is what it.
And I would even say gift giving. Gift giving, I like small gifts. It's one of my love languages. So for them, whether it's Christmas or each other's birthdays, just what can you do for your sibling? It doesn't have to cost you any money. Is there something that you can make, you can write? If there is something that costs money, like let's talk about it. Can we help you to deliver that if it makes sense? And it makes them stop and think about the other person. What would they like? Some of the best gifts have been what they give each other at Christmas. A lot of times now, they won't let us know until like day of. And like, we're usually like crying.
Yeah.
And then I feel like my gifts are terrible. And I'm like, dang it, they should have gone last because their gift was so sweet and meaningful. And it blows my mind.
Or when they have like if you get $500, Mustang bucks or whatever at school, you can like get this like little, like pick this treat from the gift basket and to see like our son working so hard to get the points, not so that he can get something for himself, but he's got his eye on this like little thing that he knows his sister's going to love.
Okay. Earlier, you guys mentioned multiplier books. Can you share some of the titles of multiplier books?
Sure. Yes. So some of them have been, they're all back here. Some of them have been books that we would have our team read, like The Go-Getter, right? I think The Go-Getter is a great one. Also, The Question Behind the Question, even some Dave Ramsey books.
Rhinos for Success.
Yes.
Yeah. Ramsey books.
Mm-hmm.
Warren Buffett's got a kid book.
Secrets of Millionaires.
Whatever
the title is, Chase is like, oh my gosh, I'm
secret number 24, Dad. I mean, it's just so good. And Dan Sullivan's, small books that are part that, from Strategic Coach are just so quick, easy. They even have cartoons in them, which I love personally, right? But just that ability to like really grab a concept quickly and then be like, and then again for us, because we'll ask questions too. It's not just like what they regurgitate to us real quick. We'll ask questions to make sure they actually grab the concept, and they're all great tools.
What's cool about the multiplier book is if there's something going on with your child, you can steer them towards books that are going to be really beneficial for this moment in their life, that you're really hoping that they need to hear it from somebody else. It can't come from you because, they've stopped listening. And so that's huge. Otherwise, if there's not really something happening at the moment, it's just like, well, what have been the books that have been game changers for me? That it doesn't matter what age they are, right? If they can read and they can just be able to have a level 1 understanding of it, they're going to get something from it. Because there's a lot of times where I've maybe held back books and then Steven's been like, no, let's go ahead. And then they just blow me away and their understanding of it and their excitement for like, oh, this next chapter. I can't wait to read it. I'm going to tell you guys about it. It's really cool. We don't have to wait until they're in college. That's too late. You know, like start in upper
Yeah.
elementary school.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
can
we
read a lot
started
of these
early
books.
and it's been, like she said, I mean, topic like spiritual, mindsets, relational type things. For me, like I know your audiences, there's a lot of entrepreneurs listening. Like if you were just to do this with one, I cannot recommend, especially for entrepreneurs, the 4 C's formula from Dan Sullivan, just to help your kid understand that you're not always going to feel confident and that doing things scared is a good thing. And like that courage is required, and that's part of the journey of growth. I think has been a foundational underlying concept because it applies to whatever, your faith, your relationships, your education, your whatever, like all, if you're up to stuff, courage is going to be required. And so I just love that his breaking down, cause I feel like we're largely taught that you're supposed to feel confident. You're supposed to act confident. And I want our kids to know that being scared is okay. But if it's the right thing, you should do it scared anyway. And eventually that will go away
Yeah.
and confidence will
Also,
come.
Joyce Meyer has 2 or 3 versions of Battlefield of the Mind,
Mm,
depending on the age of your child or, for adults. That one was really, really big.
big.
All of our kids read that one. Gosh, there was another one that
Do you
came.
guys have a bookshelf that they get to pick from? How does it work logistically?
Yes.
It's
And
been all
yes.
over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like we'll present options. Sometimes it's you present options to us. Sometimes it's, yes, go here to the bookcase and see what maybe catches your eye. Dylan read, okay, so she's pretty much always wanted to be a teacher, and not just a teacher, but also at a private school. So the pay is pretty much nothing. You may or may not be able to live on your own. So we've always encouraged her that this is awesome. If this is your calling and it's what you want to do, you absolutely should do it. And how else can you make money, right? Like, what are some other ways that you can have income in addition to your teaching income? And so she read
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Oh my God. She loved it. If you could see the notes.
She got like half her friend group to read it, notes. Yeah. And she also didn't love the fact that people would come to her, the sidebar conversations, like she'd tell people what she wanted to do, and kids would say, well, you better marry rich. And so I love
She's
that
like,
she had the
"Gonna
gumption
make
and,
my own money."
in fact, she's launching clothing line right now called God and Granola. So just, it's, it's been really neat to see, again, not just you can read the book, but now you start seeing it. And as she's talking to friends about it, now she's actually applying it. And the school's been a forcing function for her because she got a project around it, but she used it as an opportunity to start something. So it's just neat to see it, like, because then that's when they're really learning, is when they're applying it, right? It's one thing to have Warren Buffett's secret number 42, but when you literally see them not buy the Coke because they want to invest, that's when you're like they're really learning.
Can you share about some of those investment opportunities that you've presented your kids to help them understand the power of investing?
You want to go?
No, you should do
Yeah,
it.
we've been blessed to be in a position to be able to like invest ourselves. It's one of the things that Dave Ramsey taught us. We got out of debt, right? And so we've learned to invest. We're certainly no experts in it. We've been fortunate to have some really amazing people around us to have some opportunities. And so as we've participated in certain types of investments, we'll open that up as an option for them to be able to participate in a small part of something that we're already committed to doing ourselves, but just so they can experience like what that feels like. And then also, we don't bat 1,000, like what it means to like invest money and lose money. Right. And that's okay. And part of it, right? I mean, I can't number of businesses over my lifetime that I've been a part of that didn't quite work out. And there's only a couple or a few that have been, what people would consider like a success. But it's like, if you can't start to develop that, I think that there's a real tendency to like want to hoard it or just spend it all. And so I want them to at least understand it and learn by doing, not just because they read, again, Warren Buffett's book. I want them to connect the two. So that's been a neat way to do that. And certainly there's far more sophisticated things that people are doing out there. We're certainly not experts at it, but we want them to like get a taste for it and understand what it looks at. And we've even made it, and you can maybe speak to, because we bought one car so far or been a part of it. We even create that as part of the pathway to how we support them with their vehicles.
Well, we give options for how they're going to go about getting their car, and Dylan chose one way, Everett has chosen another way. They're both great, but just very different paths to get there and how much they're paying for the car or not paying for the car. So it's really cool to see your kids, and they don't feel like they have to choose what the other one chose, right? Like they're all very independent thinking. But also just to go back to the investment piece, we also allow them to pitch to us something that they want to launch to see if we might be investors in their business too. And so Dylan's doing that with her God and Granola company. Chase has done it with a little stand that he does here at like our sip and shops, where we invested in him starting his spun sugar business, and he's working on trying to take that to the next level. And it's fun. It's fun to see him own it. It's really hard work for not a whole lot of money right now, but we're hoping he'll see the bigger picture of how he can build this business versus just what the baseline is right now.
And they're still learning like essential skills, right? So that's been a part of it. We invested in that. He's starting to get the idea that, no, I got to make a profit and I need to charge a certain amount. And then like, new ideas come, from that. And then also just the skills of just interacting and like serving. I mean, like he recognized the need because we had adults coming out here for a sip and shop or a wine tasting where we had vendors, but most of the vendors were catered towards adults, right? Because people want to drink wine and they want to go to the little boutique and buy, this beautiful thing or that beautiful thing or that. And so he wanted something for kids because he noticed people came out with kids and he wanted something. And so it started with him hiding Pokemon cards for free, like the ones that, he'd package them up and he'd hide them around the property for kids to find. He was just trying to create value for them. And then that became the spun sugar. And the other thing I would say is like, too, is just we've never paid our kids allowance. We've always paid commission. And so for us, it's just like, again, re-ingraining that mindset that it's about value creation. So if you do that hard, dirty job that mom and dad don't want to do, like we're gonna pay you more for that than the little check the box type of job. And yeah, there's things you got to do around here because we're just part of a family, part of a unit, and it's part of loving mom well to or dad well by cleaning up after yourself. But, if you're going to do things that we don't want to do, like we're willing to pay more for that. Right. And so just tying that all into that sort of investment, entrepreneurial mindset kind of DNA of this is how we serve people.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I want to talk about one more thing that I feel is so important, and I really have admired how you guys have done it, is the idea around delegation and the mental shift that is required to really let go and trust whoever you're delegating to, whether it's delegating to your spouse or to your kids or to your team. And then, Steve, I would love for you to kind of tie this back to your work with superpowers and how that connects to the work that you're doing over there.
Sweet. Yeah, happy to. But I think Corey should start for sure.
I could start because mine will be messy and then you'll tie it up beautifully. This was really good for me. I am still and will always be a recovering perfectionist. So delegation for a perfectionist can be like oil and water. It's really difficult, right? Because you think things should be done a certain way, your way, okay? AKA, or it's, what's the point, right? I should just do it myself. Like this is the age old battle for me. And, it's such small minded thinking. It's such limited thinking to be that way about it, because you're missing an opportunity to help empower other people, for them to grow, for you to grow yourself by letting go and letting someone else, because sometimes you're going to be super surprised because they do it way better or way differently than you even imagined. And then other times, okay, like maybe they only did it 80%. That is still a huge weight off of you, right? Like who cares the other 20% right now? Like let's be in the gain here and not the gap of what you think it should have been. And I'll also say that Steven tried to get me to get an assistant for years, right? And while I had gotten
literally own a company that does it,
I had gotten much better at delegating to people and like, literally I'd almost have to turn a blind eye, right? Just like let them own, like they're the right person. So just quit micromanaging the situation. But he tried to get me to get an assistant for so long. And I just, because I'm a maximizer, because I'm a recovering perfectionist, whatever the reason was, I always had a reason why I didn't need one, right? And so now I have had one for almost 2 years. Diana is amazing. She does so many things so much better than me. And my life is 10 in the last 2 years that, I mean, I almost want to cry because I can't believe just how narrow minded I was for so long. And it's wonderful. And my kids can see it and they know how much I love her. And I sing her praises all the time. And they're just like, maybe Diana should do that for you. And I'm like, you're right, she should. It's so great. And everybody just knows her and loves her. And I don't know where I would be, honestly, without her as a wife, as a mom, as a business owner, as a friend. She's helped elevate all of those areas of my life. And it is a gift too for me to be able to relax and let people just let it be, and if I need to circle back because it actually really matters, then I can just major on those things and like not on all the minors because most of it is minor and I feel so much happier in my life.
But can you talk a little bit about that journey, that progression from being a perfectionist to what I'm hearing is that you've fully let go, you trust her, she's handling things, she's owning it. Like what if somebody is listening and they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, love to be in the position that you're in, but I can't ever imagine getting to a spot where I could find someone and trust someone like that. What are some of the initial baby steps that you would recommend for them to even get to a place where they would either be open to hiring an assistant or if they've got an assistant, really shifting that mindset so they can really lean into
Yes.
delegating in a way that really lets them live in their unique ability?
Well, I think some of it for me personally goes back to my worth. I think for a very long time, I put my worth in the wrong spaces and places. Like, well, if I'm not doing this, then am I even important anymore? If somebody else is doing it, does that mean that I am less? What will my value be in? Uh, so is your mindset smaller than you're realizing, right? Of what your potential is, what you could be doing, what you should be doing, but you can't even have the space to think about it because you're so busy doing all this other like ticky tacky checkbox stuff, right? That feels good at the end of the day because I'm like, "Ah, I did these 30 things. Look at me. I'm so like worthy and valuable." But they were important, but not important, right? And so
Yeah.
I think just betting on yourself that there's a bigger future for you out there and you can't even see it because you're so buried and handing that off to someone that you know and trust or you will build that trust for over time. It's do it. Do not wait until, you're old like me. Like if I would have done this so long ago, I can't even imagine where I'd be today. I'm not in the gap about that. I'm really in the gain of what's happening and what I'm able to do and know and how I'm growing now. And then I think for some people, it's just, well, I don't want them knowing all of my business, right? Like they're going to I mean, she knows the good, the bad, the ugly. Like she really knows everything except for my bank account information, like literally, like all of it, right? And so, if you're in that category, I would just say like, let it go. You're going to grow. It's okay. They're going to help shore up some of those areas of your life too. If there's something that needs to be cleaned up or shored up and you're going to be better for it. And if you have the right person, which the way our setup is too, I was actually just had this conversation with a business owner yesterday. And just by chance, I was in San Antonio and I was visiting with one of our winemakers and she's the general manager and she's so overwhelmed right now because someone just quit. So everything's fallen to her. And she said, she's like, I noticed that Diana's in your email inbox. Like she responds as you. And I was like, yeah, she does. She goes, you're okay with that? Like she can see all of your stuff. And I said, yes, it's awesome because then I don't even have to see a lot of stuff anymore. Like I don't even know that it's happened because she saw it, she took care of it. And for her, there's a sensitivity going on, probably something within the business, like maybe other team members talking, just some things that happen sometimes that not that anything is wrong or bad, but she was thinking about hiring a personal assistant that would be physically in her office. And I think me getting to tell her that because she didn't even know that Diana didn't even live in our country, right? So when she knew that, she was just like, wait, they're not going to be here commingling with everyone. She felt so much freer that this person could be in her inbox and maybe like not everything is going to be whispered and talked about behind her back at the office. So all of this to say, I think we all have different reasons for why we don't delegate or why we put off for ourselves, like getting help that we all could really use. And I think getting to the core of whatever that is and hopefully just having someone help you debunk that and give you confidence that the world is not going to fall apart. Things are not going to get worse. You don't have to just try to survive every day
Yeah.
anymore. But, until you can have someone speak the right truth into you, I think that we can just, well, this is my poopy diaper. I'm going to just sit in it because it's mine and it's fine. I know how to deal with it. Yeah. Okay, now you clean up and make it sound
What
really
could you
good.
add? I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, the joy I was as being, like I said, she's my priority. I mean, the businesses are great. I'm very grateful what I get to do every day and who I get to do with and who we get to serve. Love it. She, though, is what's important to me. To see her, you know, unleashed in the way that she's been unleashed, it's just, everyone feels it. And so like our kids are like grateful for Diana, right? Yeah. I mean, so it's just, it's, and I've been privileged enough doing what I get to do with our business. I see this all the time. Right. And so it's just, but it's more near and dear when it's literally, your best friend, right? That's on getting unstuck and more alive, So I'm really grateful. For me, I guess on the delegation thing, I would just say my journey, the joke is probably we attract what we need to heal. I'm a wonderful delegator because I'm not very skilled at anything. So I have really big ideas and it takes a village. And so I've been really blessed to get awesome people in my life around me. And the better I do that, the more those visions become reality. And so that's been just a really funny thing between the two of us, but just, like both our own journey, because for me, especially in the role that she was just talking about, I think I didn't think, it felt like a luxury. It felt like an expense. I did not see it as an investment. And it literally took our team in the insurance business, staged an intervention. And they're like, hey, look, we appreciate you and you guys are hiring for everyone else, but like, you're the bottleneck on everything, right? Like, and so they like literally you create an audition probably, and so many things that they did brought this amazing human being, Fern Knable, who was just my first assistant, who literally she changed our lives personally, professionally. I still quote her. We still eat her soup. She's amazing. We call her the queen of superpowers, which is our business that does this. And literally you could see her fingerprints everywhere. And it just, and that growth and being able to accept that, if someone's listening to what Corey just accepted, the business grew like dramatically. And we started hiring better people around us too. And it was just amazing how one hire of an executive assistant, like literally started changing like what like the way we thought and the quality of people we surrounded with ourselves in other roles, which really accelerated the business. So it's not just life changing personally. I'm like, if you really do have a business and you got a big vision, man, I cannot tell you, because it never stops. We've already in this conversation talked about date nights and working together and everything else. And even if you don't work with your spouse, you can think about work as an entrepreneur. You can work all the time, but there's no one to stop you. Most of our team members, they go home and it's done. You're a really important resource to the future of your business and the future of your team members, futures that they're hoping, the raises they hope they get, you know, college tuition they're hoping to support for their kids. And so you living into that vision fully is a really big, it's an important thing. And so you need to protect your energy as a resource. And to me, there's no better way to do that than supporting yourself with an executive assistant to help you.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so important.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, if somebody is listening and they want to come find you guys at Barnhill, visit you guys, or if they want to learn more about superpowers, can you guys share what's the easiest way to get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Barnhill, you can just go to barnhillvineyards.com and pretty much every way you could interact with us is on there. But you can come out to a free wine tasting or one of our concerts, and we're there at least 50% of the time. So we love to meet new people. So if you come to Barnhill, come find us. We'll have a glass of wine with you. Well, I will. Stephen will have water.
Yeah. Funny story for a different episode, but yeah. And then, Superpowers is Superpowers HQ for headquarters.com or Superpowered Book. We wrote a book about this with the amazing Shannon Waller of Strategic Coach. She's head of their entrepreneurial teamwork program. and we collaborated on it with my business partner, Ryan Casson. And I'm the least of the authors on the book. There's some really, really awesome insights. If you're just even thinking about it, most people we find have a very limited view of that role. It's very dated. And so in the book, if nothing else, or even if you have a really great executive assistant, you want to go to another level, super powered book, just check out the book. It'll expand your mind and what's possible for you. And I think you'll get real value. It's not a sales pitch. It's truly, this is how you do it. If you want to implement it yourself, this is how you get more freedom and growth in your life, which affects your marriage, your family, everybody around you. So
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. It's been an incredible conversation. I learned so much. I was taking notes, stuff I'm going to go back home and talk to Sunny about, things we're going to implement in our family. So thank you guys so much for everything.
Thanks for having us. We
thank
love
you.
you.
We love you guys so much. And we love your family, your beautiful family, and just many, many years and good memories, hopefully, to come together.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Anne.
Thanks for tuning in to Empowered Living. I hope today's conversation sparked some inspiration and gave you tools to live more intentionally in your family, work, and life. If you enjoyed our episode today, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an inspiring story or actionable takeaway. And if you know someone who would love this episode, share it with them, because living an intentional life is better when we do it together. Until next time, remember, the life you want doesn't happen by chance, it happens by choice. Let's keep creating it one step at a time.